Emma stared at her phone, hands shaking as she read the message one more time. Your grandmother Martha Williams passed away yesterday. Will reading scheduled for 9 a.m. today. Urgent you attend. Law offices of Henderson and Associates. Her grandmother. Dead. Emma's eyes filled with tears. Grandma Martha had been the only person who truly loved her, who believed in her when everyone else said she was worthless. Are you even listening to me? David's cold voice snapped her back to reality. Her husband stood across the kitchen table, arms crossed, face twisted with disgust. The same face that used to smile at her, the same face that had whispered, "I love you," on their wedding day 7 years ago. Now it only showed contempt. I said we need to leave in 20 minutes. The divorce hearing is at 10. Emma looked up at him. The man she'd loved for 7 years, the man who now looked at her like she was garbage on the bottom of his expensive Italian shoes. David, my grandmother just died. Can we please postpone? He laughed. Actually laughed. The sound was sharp and cruel. Postpone? Are you kidding me? I've been waiting months for this. Your poor grandmother is gone. So what? She lived in that tiny apartment eating canned soup. What's there to mourn? Emma's chest tightened. Her grandmother hadn't been rich. She'd worked as a seamstress her whole life. Lived simply. Saved every penny. Her apartment had been small but clean, always smelling of lavender and fresh bread. Emma remembered visiting as a child, sitting at her grandmother's feet while she sewed, listening to stories about the old days. Those moments had been magic. Pure love wrapped in the scent of cinnamon tea and the sound of her grandmother's gentle voice. But she'd been kind. She'd been love itself. The only person who never judged Emma, never made her feel less than, never told her she wasn't good enough. She was everything to me, Emma whispered, voice breaking. Yeah, well, she's dead now. And today I'm finally free from you. David grabbed his car keys from the hook by the door. Get ready! I want this over with. Emma stood slowly, legs trembling. She glanced at her phone again. 9 a.m., the will reading, 10 a.m. The divorce hearing. How was she supposed to attend both? How was she supposed to say goodbye to her grandmother and goodbye to her marriage in the same morning? But something in her gut told her to go to that law office, to honor her grandmother one last time, even if it meant being late to court. I need to go somewhere first, Emma said quietly. David's eyes narrowed. Excuse me? My grandmother's will reading. It's at 9. I'll meet you at the courthouse after. Are you out of your mind? David stepped closer, voice rising. His breath smelled like coffee and mint toothpaste. This is our divorce hearing. Do you think I care about some dead old lady's will? She wasn't just some old lady. She was my grandmother. She was poor trash. Just like you. David's words cut like knives, each one finding its mark. There's nothing in that will. Probably just some old dishes and costume jewelry. Wake up, Emma, you're worthless. You've always been worthless. That's why I'm divorcing you. Emma felt tears sliding down her cheeks, but she stood her ground. I'm going to the will reading. I'll be at the courthouse by 10:30. Fine. David's smile was cruel. The smile of someone who'd already won. Be late. My lawyer will make sure the judge knows you don't take this seriously. You'll get nothing. Not the house, not the car, not a single dollar. You understand me? Nothing. He grabbed his briefcase and stormed toward the door. By noon today, you'll be out on the street where you belong. Useless woman. The door slammed so hard the picture frames on the wall shook. Emma stood alone in the kitchen of the house she'd cleaned every day for 7 years. The house she'd made a home while David climbed the corporate ladder and forgot she existed. She looked around at the granite countertops she'd picked out, the curtains she'd sewn herself, spending weeks getting the measurements perfect, the herb garden she'd planted by the window, nursing each basil and rosemary plant with care. All of it would be his by the end of the day. She checked her phone. 8:15. She had 45 minutes to get to the law office. Emma grabbed her worn purse, the leather cracked at the corners from years of use. She didn't take anything else. What was the point? David had made it clear. She was leaving with nothing. The bus ride downtown took 30 minutes. Emma sat by the window, watching the city pass by through blurred tears. Other passengers got on and off. A mother with 2 small children. An elderly man with a cane. A teenager with headphones. Normal people living normal lives. Emma wondered if she'd ever feel normal again. Her grandmother had died alone. Emma hadn't even known she was sick. The guilt ate at her insides like acid. She should have visited more, should have called more often, but David had always discouraged it. "Why do you waste time with that old woman?" He'd say. "She's got nothing to offer you." Emma had let him convince her, let him slowly cut her off from the one person who truly loved her. The bus stopped 2 blocks from the law office. Emma walked quickly, wiping her eyes, trying to compose herself. The morning air was crisp and cool against her tear-stained face. Office workers rushed past with coffee cups and briefcases, everyone absorbed in their own lives, their own problems. Emma felt invisible among them, just another sad woman walking down the street. She'd felt invisible for so long now that it almost felt normal. David had made sure of that. 7 years of being told she didn't matter had a way of making you disappear, even to yourself. Henderson and Associates occupied the 10th floor of a sleek glass building downtown. Emma had never been to a place this fancy. The lobby had marble floors and a fountain. Security guards in pressed uniforms. She felt out of place in her simple dress and discount store shoes. The elevator rose smoothly, making her stomach drop. Classical music played softly. Emma watched the numbers climb, 5, 6, 7. The doors opened on the 10th floor. The receptionist, a young woman with perfect makeup and hair styled in an elaborate bun, looked her up and down with barely concealed judgment. "Can I help you?" "I'm Emma Davis. I'm here for Martha Williams's will reading." The receptionist's expression changed slightly. Something like surprise flickered across her face. "Oh, yes, they're waiting for you. Conference room B down the hall, 3rd door on the right." Emma's heart pounded as she walked down the corridor. Her shoes squeaked on the polished floor. Expensive art hung on the walls. Law books lined shelves behind glass doors. She opened the door to Conference Room B. 3 people sat around a large mahogany table. An elderly man in an expensive suit stood as she entered. He had kind eyes behind wire-rimmed glasses. 2 younger lawyers sat on either side, watching her carefully. "Mrs. Davis?" The elderly man extended his hand. "I'm Richard Henderson. Please sit down." Emma sat, hands clasped tightly in her lap. The leather chair was soft and comfortable. The table gleamed. "I'm very sorry for your loss," Mr. Henderson said gently. "Your grandmother was a remarkable woman." Emma nodded, not trusting her voice. If she tried to speak, she'd cry. Mr. Henderson opened a leather folder on the table. Inside were documents with official-looking seals. "I'll get straight to the point. As I understand, you have another appointment this morning." He looked at her kindly. "Your grandmother's will is quite straightforward. She left everything to you." Emma nodded again. She'd expected this. Probably some old furniture, maybe a few $100s in savings, enough to get her through a month or 2 while she figured out her life. "Mrs. Davis, I need you to understand the magnitude of what I'm about to tell you." Something in his tone made Emma sit up straighter. Her pulse quickened. Mr. Henderson slid a document across the table. "Your grandmother, Martha Williams, was not who you thought she was." Emma's breath caught. "What do you mean?" "Martha Williams was born Martha Ashford. She was the sole heir to the Ashford manufacturing fortune. Have you heard of Ashford Industries?" Emma shook her head. They manufactured parts for automobiles and aircraft. Very successful company. Martha inherited it when her father died in 1972. The company was worth approximately $50 million at the time. Emma's mind couldn't process this. Her grandmother, rich? When she was 21, Martha walked away from that life. She sold the company for a substantial sum, changed her name, moved to a small apartment, lived simply. She wanted a normal life. She wanted to be valued for who she was, not what she had. Emma's mind spun. This couldn't be real. She invested her inheritance wisely over the decades. She lived on almost nothing, letting her fortune grow. She told me once, about 10 years ago when she first came to me to draft this will, that she wanted to leave it all to someone who understood the value of kindness over money. Someone who would use it wisely. Someone who had a good heart. Mr. Henderson looked Emma directly in the eyes. "As of this morning, Mrs. Davis, you are the sole beneficiary of your grandmother's estate. The total value, including stocks, bonds, real estate holdings, and liquid assets, is approximately $850 million. The room tilted. $850 million. Emma couldn't breathe. The number was so large it didn't feel real. It felt like a joke, like a dream, like something that happened to other people. Not to women like her who clipped coupons and bought day-old bread to save money. Her vision blurred at the edges. The room seemed to tilt and spin. She gripped the edge of the table so hard her knuckles turned white. "I know this is shocking," Mr. Henderson continued, his voice seeming to come from very far away. "The money has already been transferred to a trust in your name. It's yours, all of it. No taxes to pay, no conditions. Your grandmother made sure everything was in order." Emma's hands shook violently. She gripped the edge of the table. "There's more," one of the younger lawyers spoke up. "She was a woman in her 30s with sharp eyes. Your grandmother left specific instructions. She wanted you to have freedom, complete financial security, the ability to live life on your own terms. She wrote you a letter. Would you like to read it?" The woman slid an envelope across the table. Emma picked it up with trembling fingers. Her name was written on the front in her grandmother's shaky handwriting. She opened it carefully. "My dearest Emma, if you're reading this, I'm gone. I'm sorry I couldn't tell you about this in person. I'm sorry for keeping secrets. But I had my reasons. I watched you grow up into a beautiful, kind, generous woman. I watched you marry David, and I held my tongue even though I saw who he really was. I knew you had to learn some lessons on your own. I knew you had to find your own strength. You have always been worth so much more than anyone gave you credit for, especially that husband of yours. I pray that by the time you read this, you've realized it too. This money is yours. Use it wisely. Use it to help others. Use it to build the life you deserve. Don't let anyone make you feel small ever again. You are my legacy, Emma. Not the money. I love you with all my heart forever, Grandma." Emma couldn't see the last lines through her tears. They fell onto the paper, smudging the ink. "Mrs. Davis," Mr. Henderson's voice seemed far away. "Are you all right?" Emma stood on shaky legs. The room spun. "I need to go." "The courthouse." "I need to—" "Of course. But please take these." He handed her a black card and a business card. "This is your new bank card. Unlimited access. The PIN is the last 4 digits of your grandmother's birthday, and this is my direct number. Call me anytime, day or night. We'll help you navigate everything." Emma took the cards with numb fingers. $850 million. She walked out of that office in a daze. The receptionist said something, but Emma didn't hear it. The elevator doors closed. Emma looked at her reflection in the polished metal. The same woman who'd woken up poor this morning was now one of the wealthiest people in the country, but she looked exactly the same. The courthouse was 6 blocks away. Emma walked slowly, mind reeling. David thought he was taking everything from her today. He thought he was leaving her with nothing, but David didn't know that this morning. While he was celebrating his freedom from his useless wife, Emma had become one of the wealthiest women in the country, and she hadn't told him. She wasn't going to tell him, not yet. Emma arrived at the courthouse at 10:20. 20 minutes late. She walked through the marble halls, past the security checkpoint, where a guard barely looked at her, up to the 3rd floor where family court was held. David stood outside courtroom 307 with his lawyer, a sharp woman in a power suit named Margaret Collins. Next to them stood someone. Emma recognized Jessica, David's secretary, the woman he'd been sleeping with for the past 2 years. Jessica wore a designer dress that probably cost more than Emma's entire wardrobe. Her heels were expensive. Her handbag had a logo Emma recognized from magazines. She laughed at something David said, touching his arm possessively, claiming him. David saw Emma approaching and his expression turned smug, triumphant. Look who finally decided to show up. "Did the will reading take long?" "What did you get? Some old quilts? A box of buttons?" Jessica giggled. The sound was high-pitched and grating. Emma said nothing. She walked past them into the courtroom, heart pounding so hard she thought everyone could hear it. The judge, a stern woman in her 60s with silver hair pulled back in a tight bun, looked annoyed. "Mrs. Davis, you're late. This is a court of law, not a coffee shop. We operate on schedules here. I apologize, Your Honor. My grandmother passed away yesterday. I attended her will reading this morning." The judge's expression softened slightly. "My condolences. Let's proceed." What happened next was brutal. David's lawyer, Margaret, painted Emma as a burden, a drain on society, a woman who contributed nothing to the marriage, who had no job, no income, no prospects. "My client has been the sole provider for 7 years, Your Honor. Mrs. Davis has lived off his generosity while contributing nothing to the household finances. She has no marketable skills, no education beyond high school, no work experience, no assets of her own. Emma sat quietly, hands folded while they tore her apart. Each word was a knife, Margaret continued. Mr. Davis works 60-hour weeks at a successful tech company. He makes $200,000 a year. He bought their home. He pays for everything. Mrs. Davis hasn't held a job since they married. She spends her days doing crafts and watching television. That wasn't true. Emma had volunteered at a women's shelter. She'd cooked every meal. She'd kept their house spotless. She'd done everything David asked, but she had no way to prove the value of that work. Mr. Davis is requesting full ownership of the marital home, valued at $450,000. The vehicle, a 2023 Honda Accord, and all joint assets, including savings and retirement accounts, totaling approximately $75,000. Mrs. Davis can keep her personal belongings. That's more than fair given her complete lack of contribution to this marriage. The judge looked at Emma. Mrs. Davis, do you have legal representation? No, Your Honor. Do you contest any of this? Emma thought about the black card in her purse. About $850 million, sitting in an account with her name on it. She could buy 1,000 houses like the one David was so proud of. She could buy the company he worked for. She could buy this courthouse if she wanted to. No, Your Honor, Emma said quietly. He can have everything. David's smile was triumphant. He actually pumped his fist under the table, like he'd won some kind of game. Like destroying his wife's life was a victory to celebrate. Emma saw it all in slow motion. The smile, the satisfaction, the pure joy on his face at her expense. His lawyer looked surprised but pleased. Margaret gathered her papers efficiently, already moving on to her next case. This was just another Tuesday morning for her. Another woman left with nothing. Very well, the judge said, signing documents with quick, efficient strokes. The divorce is granted. Mr. Davis receives full ownership of all marital assets. Mrs. Davis, you have 72 hours to remove your personal belongings from the residence. So I suggest you arrange for a truck. Bailiff, next case. It was done. Emma was divorced, poor homeless nothing except she wasn't. She walked out of that courtroom with her head high, her back straight. Her eyes dry. David and Jessica were already in the hallway celebrating freedom. David whooped, pulling Jessica into a kiss, his hands on her waist. Finally free from that dead weight. Jessica giggled and kissed him back. We should celebrate. Champagne at Marino's? Whatever you want, baby. Sky's the limit now that I don't have that burden dragging me down. His voice was loud, echoing through the courthouse hallway. He wanted everyone to hear, wanted everyone to know he'd won. Emma walked past them without a word. Hey, David called after her. Where are you gonna go? You got any friends who'll take in a useless charity case? Or are you gonna crawl back to your dead grandmother's apartment? Oh, wait, the landlord probably already rented it out. Jessica laughed again. The sound echoed in the marble hallway. Emma kept walking. Her shoes clicked on the floor, one foot in front of the other. She had 72 hours to get her things, but she didn't want anything from that house. Anything that reminded her of David, of those 7 years of slowly disappearing. Everything she needed was in her purse, a black card and a phone number for the best lawyer money could buy. Emma stepped out into the bright morning sun. The courthouse steps were crowded with people. Lawyers in suits, defendants in handcuffs, families crying. Her life was about to change, and David had no idea what was coming. She walked to the nearest coffee shop, a little place called Morning Brew on the corner. The kind of place she and David used to go to when they were dating, before he got his promotion, before he decided she wasn't good enough anymore. Emma sat down in a corner booth. Her hands still trembled as she pulled out the black card. Was this real? She took a deep breath and pulled out her phone. She dialed the number Mr. Henderson had given her. He answered on the first ring. Mrs. Davis, I was hoping you'd call. Is this really happening? Emma's voice cracked. $850 million. Yes, it's all real. The money is in your account right now. You can verify it if you'd like. I can send you login information for the online portal. Emma closed her eyes. I need help. I don't know what to do. I don't know how to be rich, how to manage this. I don't even know where I'm going to sleep tonight. That's why I'm here, Mrs. Davis. First, let's talk about immediate needs. Do you have a place to stay? No, David got the house. I have 72 hours to get my things. You won't be going back there, Mr. Henderson said firmly. Not to live. I'm arranging a suite at the Plaza Hotel as we speak. There, it's yours for as long as you need it. Months, years, whatever you need. The Plaza Hotel. Emma had walked past it once when she was taking the bus downtown. It looked like a palace. She'd never even dared to go inside. I can't afford that, Mr. Henderson chuckled gently. Mrs. Davis, you can afford to buy that hotel. Several times over. In fact, you could buy every hotel in this city and barely notice the expense. The reality hit her again like a wave. She put her head in her hands. I need a lawyer, Emma said suddenly. A good one, the best. David just took everything in that courtroom and I let him. But I need someone who can protect this inheritance, who can make sure he can't touch it. Already done. Victoria Chen, best family law attorney in the state. She'll meet you at the hotel in 2 hours. She specializes in protecting assets during divorces. High net worth individuals. Emma's heart raced. But the divorce is already final. The judge signed the papers. Not quite. The judge signed the papers, but there's a 30-day waiting period before it's officially recorded with the state. If new assets come to light during that time, the settlement can be challenged and reviewed, so David could still try to take this money. He can try, but with Victoria on your side, he won't succeed. Your grandmother left that money to you personally. It's separate property, not marital property. We'll make absolutely sure of it. And besides, you didn't even know about it until the morning of the divorce. You couldn't have disclosed it. Emma felt something she hadn't felt in years. Power, control over her own life. Thank you. Mr. Henderson. One more thing, Mrs. Davis. This is very important. Don't tell anyone about this money yet. Not friends, not family. Especially not your ex-husband. The less people who know, the better. I won't, I promise. It's good. A car will pick you up from wherever you are in 30 minutes. The driver will take you to the hotel. Your suite will be ready. Everything you need will be provided. Clothing, toiletries, whatever you need. I don't know what to say. Say you'll take care of yourself. Say you'll honor your grandmother's wishes. Say you'll build the life you deserve. Emma's throat tightened. I will, I promise. She hung up and sat back in the booth. A waitress approached, an older woman with kind eyes and tired feet. What can I get you, honey? Emma looked at the menu. For 7 years, she'd calculated every purchase. Every dollar. David gave her an allowance of $50 a week for groceries. She'd stretched it as far as it would go. Store brand everything, no treats, no extras. I'll have the breakfast special, with extra bacon, and a large orange juice, and coffee. And one of those cinnamon rolls I saw in the case. The big one, the waitress smiled. Hungry this morning? Starving. While Emma ate, savoring every bite, her phone buzzed. A text from David. Jessica and I are celebrating at Marino's tonight. Make sure you're out of the house when we get back tomorrow. Don't want to see your pathetic face. Also, the locks are being changed tomorrow morning. So get your crap and get out. Emma stared at the message. Marino's, the expensive Italian restaurant downtown. David had never taken her there. She'd asked once for their anniversary. He'd said it was too expensive. Said they needed to save money, but he was taking Jessica. Emma deleted the message. She'd seen enough of David's cruelty for one day. Let him celebrate. Let him think he won. 30 minutes later, a black town car pulled up outside the coffee shop. The driver, a professional-looking man in his 50s, got out and approached her table. Mrs. Davis, I'm Robert. Mr. Henderson sent me. Emma followed him to the car. The interior was leather and spotless. Classical music played softly. Robert drove smoothly through the city streets. Have you been to the plaza before, ma'am? Robert asked politely. No, never. You're going to love it. They've prepared the ambassador suite for you. Top floor. Best views in the city. 20 minutes later, Emma stood in the lobby of the Plaza Hotel feeling like she'd stepped into a dream. Crystal chandeliers, marble floors, fresh flowers everywhere, men and women in expensive clothes checking in and out. The concierge, a distinguished man with silver hair, smiled warmly. Mrs. Davis, welcome. We've been expecting you. Your suite is ready. I'm James. If you need anything at all, please don't hesitate to call down. A bellhop appeared even though Emma had no luggage. The elevator rose smoothly. Soft music played. The hallway on the top floor was carpeted in plush burgundy. The walls were papered in cream and gold. The bellhop opened double doors. Emma stepped inside and gasped. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked the entire city. She could see for miles. A massive living room with cream-colored sofas and chairs. Fresh flowers on every surface. A dining table that could seat 12. A kitchen with marble countertops and appliances that gleamed. "The bedrooms are through here," the bellhop said, leading her down a short hall. 2 bedrooms, each with king-sized beds dressed in what looked like silk. Ensuite bathrooms with cloth foot tubs and rain showers. Robes hanging on hooks. Toiletries from expensive brands. "Will this be satisfactory, ma'am?" the bellhop asked. "Satisfactory?" Emma wanted to laugh and cry at the same time. "Yes, thank you." He left quietly, closing the door behind him. Emma walked to the window in the living room and looked out at the city below. Cars moved like toys. People were tiny dots on the sidewalk. Somewhere down there, David was celebrating his freedom, mocking her, calling her useless, probably telling Jessica all about how he'd taken everything from his pathetic ex-wife. Emma touched the glass. It was cool against her palm. "You have no idea what's coming," she whispered to the city. To David, wherever he was, a knock at the door. Emma opened it to find a woman in her 40s, wearing a designer suit that fit perfectly. She had sharp, intelligent eyes and a confident smile. She carried a leather briefcase. "Emma Davis." "I'm Victoria Chen." They shook hands. Victoria's grip was firm. "Come in," Emma said. Victoria came in and set her briefcase on the dining table. She looked around at the suite and nodded approvingly. "Good. Henderson takes care of his clients. Now let's get to work. First, I need to understand the timeline. When exactly did you learn about the inheritance?" "This morning, about an hour before the divorce hearing." "And did you mention it to anyone?" "The judge? Your husband? His lawyer?" "No, I didn't say anything to anyone." "Good, very good." Victoria pulled out documents and a legal pad. "The inheritance is pre-divorce, technically. But since the divorce was already in process, your ex-husband's lawyers could try to argue that it should have been disclosed as a marital asset. However, since you didn't know about it until the same day as the hearing, and since it was left to you specifically by your grandmother as a gift, we have a very strong case that it's separate property, not subject to division." Emma sat down across from her. "What if David finds out?" "He will find out, eventually. These things have a way of surfacing. Money leaves a trail. The question is how and when he finds out, and what we do about it." Victoria looked at her seriously. "I need you to trust me. Can you do that?" "Yes." "Good, here's what we're going to do. We're going to let him think he won. For now, let him celebrate. Let him get comfortable. Let him make mistakes. Why? Because arrogant people always do. If David thinks you're desperate and poor, he'll get sloppy. He might harass you. He might try to push you around. He might do something we can use against him. And when he does, we'll be ready." Emma nodded slowly, beginning to understand. "In the meantime, we document everything. Every text message, every phone call, every interaction. We build a profile of his behavior during the marriage, his affair with his secretary, his emotional abuse, his financial control, his cruelty. But the divorce is already done. Why does that matter?" Victoria smiled. A shark's smile. "Because if he comes after your inheritance, we go to war. We show the judge exactly who David is. We make it clear that he doesn't deserve a single penny of your grandmother's money. That he spent 7 years tearing you down, controlling you, making you feel worthless. We paint a picture that makes sure he never sees a dime." Emma felt a spark of something she hadn't felt in so long. Hope. Power. "So what do I do?" "You live your life. You start fresh. You figure out who Emma Davis really is now. You explore. You learn, you grow, and when the time is right, when we have everything we need, we make our move." "What kind of move?" Victoria leaned forward, eyes gleaming. "We make him regret every word he said to you, every way he hurt you. We make him understand exactly what he threw away. We make sure everyone knows who he really is. But first, we let him hang himself with his own rope." Over the next week, Emma began to build her new life. She went shopping, but carefully. Nothing too flashy. Nothing that would attract attention. Just quality pieces that fit well and made her feel confident. She bought jeans that actually fit, shirts that didn't have holes, a good coat for the winter that was coming. She went to a real salon, not the cheap place she'd been cutting her own hair at for years. The stylist washed her hair with products that smelled like flowers, cut it into a style that framed her face. Emma barely recognized herself in the mirror. She looked alive. She walked through the city without fear, without worrying about money, without calculating the cost of every step. But she kept a low profile. She didn't post on social media, didn't reach out to the few friends she had left. David had slowly isolated her from everyone over the years. There was no one left who would care anyway. She was a ghost, and that was exactly how she wanted it. David, meanwhile, was everywhere. Emma couldn't help but check his social media. It was like picking at a scab. She knew she shouldn't, but she couldn't stop herself. He'd made his relationship with Jessica public immediately. Photos of them at restaurants, at bars, at concerts, at the house that used to be Emma's. In one photo, Jessica posed in Emma's kitchen wearing what looked like Emma's old apron, the one with flowers that her grandmother had given her. The caption, "Home sweet home with my man." The comments were full of congratulations. Friends saying how happy David looked, how much better this new relationship was. No one mentioned Emma. It was like she'd never existed. Emma stared at that photo for a long time. Then she did something she hadn't done in years. She called Victoria. "I want to go to the house, to get my things. The things that actually matter to me. Are you sure you're ready? You don't have to go back there. I know. But there are some things. Photos of my grandmother. Some books. A few pieces of her furniture she gave me. I don't want him to throw them away." "Okay, but I'm coming with you. And we're bringing a moving company. Professional movers. We document everything. We do this right." The next morning, Emma stood outside the house that had been her prison for 7 years. Victoria stood beside her, clipboard in hand. Behind them, a moving truck and 3 professional movers waited. David's car wasn't there. He was at work, but Jessica's red BMW sat in the driveway like it belonged there. Emma's jaw tightened. She unlocked the door with the key she still had. David hadn't changed the locks yet. She walked in. Jessica was in the living room, lounging on the couch in her pajamas, watching television. She looked up in surprise. "What are you doing here?" "Getting my things. I have 72 hours, remember?" Jessica stood up, crossing her arms. "David said you wouldn't actually come back." "Well, I'm here." Emma walked past her toward the bedroom. Victoria followed, taking notes. Jessica trailed behind them. "You know, this is my house now. You need to leave." Emma stopped and turned. Victoria stepped slightly in front of her, protective. "Actually," Victoria said coolly, "it's David's house, not yours. You're just his girlfriend, for now. And Mrs. Davis has every legal right to be here until the 72-hour period expires." "Which isn't until tomorrow afternoon." Jessica's face flushed. "They're getting the locks changed this afternoon. Then we'll be done before then." Victoria pulled out her phone. "Movers, you can come in now." The 3 movers entered, professional and efficient. Emma opened the closet and started pulling out her clothes. Not that she needed them anymore. But they were hers. She'd earned them. Jessica watched, arms still crossed. "David told me all about you. How you did nothing. How you were just a burden." Emma kept packing, silent. "He said you were boring in bed too. That you just laid there like a dead fish." Emma's hands paused for just a second. Then she continued packing. Victoria stepped forward. "You might want to stop talking. Harassment can be documented and used in legal proceedings." Jessica laughed. "Legal proceedings? The divorce is over. She has nothing." "We'll see about that," Victoria said quietly. Emma moved to the bathroom. She packed her toothbrush, her few bottles of cheap makeup, her shower products. Jessica kept following. Kept talking. "You know what the best part is? David and I are going to redecorate everything. Get rid of all your boring taste. Make this place actually nice." Emma looked at her. Really looked at her. Jessica was 26, pretty, full of confidence that came from never really being hurt yet. "You're right," Emma said quietly. "I did take it. For 7 years I took every insult, every piece of cruelty, every moment of neglect. You know why?" Jessica smirked. "Because you're weak?" "No, because I loved him. I believed marriage meant commitment. I believed in working through hard times. I believed in being loyal." Emma stepped closer. "But here's what I learned, Jessica. David doesn't value loyalty. He values what's convenient. What's new? What makes him look good? Right now you're convenient. You're new. You're exciting. But give it time. 3 years. Maybe 5. You'll become boring too, and he'll find someone else. Someone younger. Someone more exciting. Jessica's smirk faltered. And when that happens, when you're standing in your kitchen crying because he's staying late at work again with his new secretary, when you're wondering why he doesn't touch you anymore, when you're feeling invisible in your own home, remember this conversation. Remember that you knew exactly who he was. You knew he was married when you started sleeping with him. You knew he was capable of this, and you chose him anyway. Emma picked up her box of clothes and walked out. Jessica stood frozen in the bedroom. The movers worked quickly and professionally. They took everything Emma wanted. Some photographs in frames, some books that had belonged to her grandmother, a rocking chair that was over 100 years old, a quilt her grandmother had made by hand. Emma stood in the empty bedroom one last time. This had been her prison for 7 years. These walls had heard her cry, had witnessed her slowly disappearing. She didn't feel sad leaving it behind. She felt free. By noon, everything was loaded. Emma walked through the house one final time. Jessica sat on the couch, arms wrapped around herself, looking smaller than before. "He really said those things about me?" Emma asked quietly. "About being boring in bed?" Jessica wouldn't meet her eyes. "I made that up." "I'm sorry," Emma nodded. "He'll say them about you too eventually. That's who he is." She walked out and didn't look back. Victoria drove Emma back to the hotel. They rode in silence for a while. "You handled that well," Victoria finally said. "I don't feel good about it. You shouldn't. But you needed to get your things. You needed closure. Is this what rich people do? And just walk away from everything?" Victoria glanced at her. "Rich people do whatever they want. That's the point. You get to decide what matters to you now. Not David. Not anyone else, you." Back at the hotel, Emma unpacked the few things she'd taken. She set up her grandmother's rocking chair by the window, draped the handmade quilt over it. She sat down and rocked slowly, looking out at the city. Her phone buzzed. "David, Jessica told me you were at the house today acting like a psycho. Stay away from her. Stay away from my house. And if you took anything that belongs to me, I'm calling the cops." Emma deleted the message without responding. An hour later, another message. "The locks are changed. You're officially out. Don't even think about coming back. You're nothing now. Hope you enjoy sleeping on the street." Emma looked around at her penthouse suite, at the view that stretched for miles, at the furniture that probably cost more than David made in a year. She smiled and deleted that message too. Let him think she was desperate. Let him think she was broken. The truth would come out eventually. And when it did, she wanted to see his face. That evening, Emma had dinner at the hotel restaurant. She sat alone at a table by the window, eating slowly, savoring each bite. A man at the bar kept glancing at her. He was handsome, probably in his early 40s, wearing an expensive suit. After a while, he approached with a glass of wine. "Is this seat taken?" Emma looked up. "No, but I'm not really looking for company." "I understand. I just wanted to say you have a beautiful smile, even if you look a little sad." His voice was warm, genuine, not like David's practiced charm that always had an agenda behind it. Emma touched her face, surprised. She hadn't realized she was smiling, or that it looked sad. But maybe that was fair. She was sad, grieving her grandmother, grieving her marriage, but also hopeful about what came next. "Rough week," she said. "I know the feeling. I'm Daniel." He didn't push, just set the wine down on her table. "If you change your mind about company, I'll be at the bar." He walked away before Emma could respond. She looked at the wine, then at Daniel, who had returned to his seat and was looking at his phone, giving her space. Emma picked up the wine and walked over to the bar. "Actually, company sounds nice." Daniel smiled. "Good, I hate drinking alone." They talked for hours. Daniel was an architect. He traveled a lot for work. He'd been married once, divorced 3 years ago. No kids. He was easy to talk to. He listened. He asked questions. Emma found herself telling him about the divorce, about David, not about the money, but about the feeling of being invisible, of being made to feel worthless. "He sounds like an idiot," Daniel said simply. "Anyone who couldn't see your value doesn't deserve you. You don't even know me. I know that you smile when you talk about your grandmother. I know you have kind eyes. I know you've been hurt, but you're still here, still trying. That tells me a lot." Emma felt warmth spread through her chest. Not attraction necessarily, just connection, human connection. Something she hadn't felt in so long. "Thank you," she said quietly. "For what?" "For reminding me that not all men are like him." Daniel raised his glass. "To new beginnings." Emma clinked her glass against his. "To new beginnings." They exchanged numbers before the night ended. Daniel had to fly to Boston in the morning for a project, but he asked if he could call her when he got back. Emma said yes. Walking back to her suite, she felt lighter, younger, like maybe, possibly, there was life after David. 2 weeks went by. Emma fell into a routine. She met with Mr. Henderson regularly, learning about her finances, about investments and trusts and foundations. She met with Victoria, documenting everything about David's behavior during the marriage. Building a case just in case, she explored the city. She went to museums. She tried new restaurants. She bought books and actually read them. She talked to Daniel on the phone. He called every evening from wherever he was working. Boston, Philadelphia, Chicago, their conversations were easy, comfortable. He made her laugh, Emma. Felt herself slowly coming back to life, but she kept everything secret. No social media, no contact with old friends. She was still a ghost. And then one morning everything changed, Victoria called, voice urgent. "Turn on the news." Channel 7. Emma grabbed the remote and turned on the television. A news reporter stood outside David's office building. "Breaking news this morning. A local tech company executive is under investigation for sexual harassment. 3 women have come forward with allegations against David Morrison, Senior Vice President at TechCore Solutions." Emma's breath caught. David's face appeared on screen. "His company photo," the reporter continued. "The women who wish to remain anonymous at this time describe a pattern of inappropriate behavior spanning several years. Unwanted touching, sexual comments, creating what they call a hostile work environment." The screen cut to an interview with a lawyer, a woman Emma recognized. "My clients are brave women who have been silenced for too long. Mr. Morrison used his position of power to intimidate and harass female employees. They feared losing their jobs if they spoke up. But they're speaking up now." Emma sat frozen on the couch. Victoria was still on the phone. "Are you watching?" "Yes, this changes everything. The company's board is meeting tomorrow. Emergency session. They're going to discuss his future. Can't you, as a major investor, have a voice in that discussion?" Emma's mind spun. What? What are you talking about?" "I didn't tell you before because I wanted to surprise you. Mr. Henderson and I have been working on something. Your grandmother's estate included stock in several companies. We've been consolidating and restructuring. And 2 weeks ago we made a strategic investment. $25 million into TechCore Solutions. Your ex-husband's company. You invested my money in David's company? We invested in a good company that was having cash flow problems. They needed capital. We provided it. In exchange, you now own 25% of the company. You're not just an investor, Emma. You're a major shareholder. You have a seat at the table if you want it." Emma couldn't breathe. "The board is meeting tomorrow at 10 a.m. to discuss David's future. You can attend. You can vote. You can have a say in whether he keeps his job." Emma thought about Jessica calling her pathetic, about David saying she was useless, about 7 years of cruelty. "I want to be there," Emma said. "In person. I want him to see my face. Are you sure? Once you reveal yourself, there's no going back. He'll know about the money. Everyone will know. I'm sure. Then we'll be ready. I'll prepare everything. We'll make sure this is legal, professional, and devastating." The next morning, Emma dressed carefully, a tailored navy suit that cost more than her entire wardrobe used to. Her hair was perfect. Her makeup was subtle but polished. She looked powerful. She looked like money. Victoria met her in the hotel lobby. "You look perfect. Remember, you don't have to say much. Just be present. Let them see you. Let David see you." They drove to TechCore Solutions. The building was modern glass and steel. Emma had never been inside. David had never invited her to his workplace. Said it wasn't appropriate. The receptionist looked at Victoria. "We're here for the board meeting." Victoria Chen and Emma Ashford. Emma had decided to use her grandmother's name, her real name. The receptionist's eyes widened slightly. "Oh yes, top floor. Conference room A," the elevator rose. Emma's heart pounded. The doors opened. Her assistant was waiting. "Ms. Ashford?" "Right this way." They walked down a corridor lined with glass offices. Employees glanced up from their computers, curious. The conference room was massive. A long table with 12 leather chairs. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city. 7 people were already seated. The board members. They stood as Emma entered. "Ms. Ashford, welcome. We're honored to have you." The chairman, an older man with kind eyes, shook her hand. "I'm Robert Hayes. Thank you for your investment in our company. You quite literally saved us." The other board members introduced themselves. CFO, COO, head of operations. All powerful people. All treating Emma with respect. She took a seat at the table. Victoria sat beside her. "We're waiting for one more person," Robert said. "Our senior vice president. This meeting concerns him directly." Footsteps in the hallway. The door opened. David walked in looking confident. He wore his best suit. His smile was broad. He thought this was just a formality. A slap on the wrist. A warning to be more careful. Then he saw Emma. His smile vanished like someone had flipped a switch. His face went pale. His briefcase slipped from his hand and hit the floor with a thud. "What is she doing here?" His voice was strangled. The chairman looked confused. "You know Miss Ashford?" Emma stood up slowly. She met David's eyes. Held his gaze. "Hello, David." David looked around at the board members. "This is my ex-wife, Emma. Why is she here?" Robert looked at Emma, then back at David. "This is Emma Ashford, the major investor who provided $25 million in capital to this company 2 weeks ago. She owns 25% of TechCore Solutions." David's mouth opened and closed. No sound came out. Emma stayed standing. "I'm Emma Davis, formerly Emma Williams, but I'm also Emma Ashford, granddaughter of Martha Ashford, the anonymous investor who saved this company from bankruptcy." "You?" David finally found his voice. "That's impossible. You don't have any money. You're broke." "You're nothing." "I have $850 million, Emma said calmly. "Inherited from my grandmother the morning of our divorce. The same morning you called me worthless. The same morning you took everything. The same morning you and Jessica celebrated your freedom." The room was completely silent. David's face went from pale to red. "You had that money during the divorce. That's fraud. That should have been disclosed. I'm going to sue you for everything." "I didn't know about it until after the hearing started," Emma said, "and it was left to me personally by my grandmother. Not marital property. My lawyers have made sure of that. You're welcome to try to sue, but you'll lose." David turned to the board members. "This is personal vendetta. She's doing this to punish me." "Actually," Victoria spoke up, "your wife did a simple investigation. This company had solid products but poor cash management. It was a good investment. The fact that you work here is irrelevant to the financial decision." Robert cleared his throat. "Shall we proceed with the meeting? Mr. Morrison, please sit down." David sat, but his eyes never left Emma. She could see his mind working, calculating, trying to figure out how to use this. "We're here to discuss serious allegations," Robert began. 3 women have come forward with complaints of sexual harassment. These are serious charges that could expose the company to legal liability. The next hour was brutal. The board reviewed the complaints in detail. One woman described David cornering her in a supply closet. Another described him making comments about her body during meetings. A third described him making her job contingent on being friendly. David tried to defend himself. He called them liars. He said they were just after money. He said this was a setup, but the evidence was damning: emails, text messages, witness statements. Emma said nothing. She just sat and listened. Watched David squirm. Finally, Robert looked at David with disappointment. "We're going to have to let you go. Effective immediately." David stood so fast his chair fell backward and clattered against the floor. "You can't do this. I made this company what it is. So I brought in half our clients. I've also created a hostile work environment and exposed us to massive lawsuits," the CFO said. "We have no choice." David spun to face Emma, eyes blazing with pure rage. "This is your fault. You vindictive bitch. You orchestrated this whole thing to punish me." Emma met his gaze calmly. Her voice was steady when she spoke. "No, David, you did this to yourself. You harassed those women. You created this situation. You made choices. Bad choices. Cruel choices. And I'm just here to make sure there are consequences for once. Something you've never really faced before. Your whole life you've gotten away with everything. Hurting people, using people, throwing people away when you were done with them. But not this time. This time your actions have consequences. I'll sue you. I'll take everything. I'll destroy you, Emma smiled. Try. My lawyers are much, much better than yours. And unlike you, I can actually afford them. You're nothing. You were nothing when I met you, and you're still nothing. Victoria stood. Mr. Morrison, if you don't leave immediately, we'll have security escort you out. David grabbed his briefcase. At the door, he turned one last time. This isn't over. Yes, it is, Emma said softly. It was over the moment you decided I wasn't worth your love. You just didn't realize it yet. David stormed out. Emma sat back down. Her hands were shaking under the table, but her face was calm. Robert looked at her with something like admiration. That took courage, Miss Ashford. It needed to happen, Emma said. The meeting concluded. The board members filed out, shaking Emma's hand, welcoming her officially as a major shareholder. When they were alone, Victoria turned to Emma. How do you feel? I don't know. Empty, satisfied. Sad? All of those are valid. Emma looked out the window at the city below. He built his whole identity around his career. His job, his success. And now it's gone. He did that to himself. Those women deserve justice, I know. I thought it would feel better. Watching him fall. That's because you're a good person, Emma. You're not cruel like he is. Even now, even after everything, you're capable of empathy. Emma was quiet for a moment. What happens now? Now we wait. David will try something. He's cornered and desperate. Desperate people do stupid things, but we'll be ready. Over the next few days, the story exploded. The media picked it up. Tech executive fired after harassment allegations. David's face was everywhere. The details came out. His career was over. Emma watched it unfold from her hotel suite. Part of her felt vindicated. Part of her just felt tired. Jessica left him. Emma saw it on social media. Jessica posted a long statement about not knowing the full truth and supporting survivors. She moved out. Left David alone in the house he'd been so proud to take. David tried to find another job, but the story followed him. No one wanted to hire someone with a sexual harassment scandal. Emma heard through Victoria that David couldn't afford the mortgage anymore. He was going to have to sell the house Emma had made into a home, the house he'd torn from her in court, the house where Jessica had worn her apron and laughed. Gone. David tried calling Emma. She blocked his number. He tried showing up at her old haunts, the coffee shops and grocery stores she used to go to, but Emma wasn't there anymore. She lived in a different world now. He sent emails, desperate, angry, begging, threatening. Victoria documented all of it. He's unraveling, Victoria said during one of their meetings. This is actually perfect for us. If he keeps this up, we can get a restraining order. I don't want to punish him anymore, Emma said quietly. I just want him to leave me alone. Then that's what we'll make happen. A month after David was fired, Emma sat in her hotel suite, looking at letters from the foundation she'd started, the Martha Ashford Foundation for Women's Independence. It was helping women leave abusive marriages, helping them get on their feet, giving them the resources to start over. 50 women so far. 50 lives changed. Emma read each letter carefully. Each story broke her heart and filled it at the same time. One woman wrote, I was sleeping in my car with my 2 kids. Now I have an apartment. I have a job. My kids are in a good school. Thank you for giving us hope. Emma traced her fingers over the words, imagining that woman and her children safe and warm. Another wrote, My husband told me I was worthless every day for 10 years. Your foundation helped me see that he was wrong. I'm back in college now. I'm going to be a nurse. This one made Emma's heart swell. Education, freedom, a future. A third letter said, I never thought I'd escape. Your foundation gave me emergency housing when I left, with just the clothes on my back. Now I have a job. I'm saving money. I'm rebuilding. You saved my life. Emma had tears streaming down her face by the time she finished reading. This was what her grandmother wanted. This was the legacy, not the money, not the revenge on David. This helping women who'd been where she was. Giving them a chance, her phone rang. Daniel. Hey, you. How's Boston? Cold, snowy, I'll be home tomorrow. Can I take you to dinner? Emma smiled. I'd like that. Good, I've been thinking about you. Yeah? Yeah, is that okay? Emma looked around at her beautiful suite, at the letters spread across her dining table, at the life she'd built from nothing. That's very okay. They talked for an hour. About nothing important, about everything important. Daniel told her about his project, a museum renovation. Emma told him about the foundation, about the women she was helping. You're incredible, Daniel said. You know that. I'm just trying to do something good with what I was given. That's what makes you incredible. After they hung up, Emma sat by the window in her grandmother's rocking chair. The quilt was draped over her legs. The city lights sparkled below. 6 months ago, she'd been on the verge of divorce, broke, worthless in her husband's eyes. Now she was one of the wealthiest women in the country. She was helping people. She was building something meaningful, and maybe, possibly, she was falling for someone new, someone kind, someone who saw her value. A text came through. Unknown number. Emma almost ignored it, but something made her open it. Emma, it's David. Please, I know you hate me. I know I deserve it. But I'm begging you. I lost everything. I can't find work. I'm going to lose the house. I have nothing, please. If you ever cared about me at all, help me. Emma stared at the message for a long time. Part of her wanted to feel sorry for him. The part that had loved him once. The part that had believed in him. That had stood by him. But that part was gone. She typed a response. You didn't lose everything, David. You threw it away. You threw away a wife who loved you. A home, a life. You threw away your integrity when you harassed those women. You threw away your reputation when you chose cruelty over kindness. I didn't do this to you. You did this to yourself. And no, I won't help you, because helping you would teach you nothing. Goodbye, David, she sent it. Then blocked the number. This time for good. Emma deleted the message thread. Deleted every contact she had for David. Deleted the screenshots of his social media. She was done carrying him. Done thinking about him. Done letting him take up space in her mind. A year later, Emma stood at a podium in a hotel ballroom. 200 women filled the seats. They were all survivors. Women who'd left abusive marriages. Women who'd rebuilt their lives. Women who'd found their strength. The Martha Ashford Foundation's first annual gala. My grandmother taught me something important, Emma said, her voice steady and clear. She taught me that true wealth isn't measured in dollars. It's measured in kindness, in courage, in the choice to help others instead of hurting them. The women applauded. When I was at my lowest point, I didn't know if I'd survive. I didn't know if I'd ever feel whole again. But I did survive. And you did too. We all did. And now we're here to make sure that other women know they're not alone. That there's hope. That there's a future worth fighting for. More applause. Emma looked out at the crowd and saw herself in every face. Women who'd been called worthless, useless, burdens women. Who'd proven every single one of those words wrong. After the speech, women lined up to thank her. To share their stories. To hug her and cry and celebrate. One woman approached shyly. She was young, maybe 25, with a baby on her hip. Mrs. Davis, I just wanted to thank you. 6 months ago, I was sleeping in my car with my son. Your foundation gave me emergency housing, then a grant to go to nursing school. Now I have my own apartment. I have a job I love. I have hope. I don't know how to repay you. Emma took her hand. You don't repay me. You pay it forward. Help the next woman who needs it. I will. I promise. As the evening wound down, Emma stepped outside for some air. The hotel had a beautiful terrace overlooking the city. Daniel found her there. They'd been dating for 8 months now, taking it slow, building something real. Hey, he said, slipping his arm around her waist. You were amazing tonight. I'm exhausted, Emma admitted, leaning into him. Good exhausted or bad exhausted? Good. Definitely good. They stood in comfortable silence watching the city lights. I'm proud of you, Daniel said. Your grandmother would be proud of you too. Emma looked up at the stars. She felt for just a moment like her grandmother was there with her, smiling, proud, at peace. The night air was cool and perfect. Everything felt right in a way it hadn't in years. Thank you, Grandma, she whispered to the night sky, for everything, for believing in me, for seeing who I could become. for giving me the chance to help others the way you helped me, for teaching me that true strength isn't about money or power. It's about kindness, about resilience, about knowing your worth, even when everyone else tells you you're worthless. You gave me more than money. You gave me myself back. The wind picked up, rustling the trees nearby. Emma could have sworn she smelled lavender and fresh bread, just for a second. Her grandmother's scent, a sign perhaps that she was listening. That she approved. Daniel kissed her temple. Ready to head home? Home. Emma had bought a beautiful apartment 6 months ago. Not a penthouse. Just a cozy 3-bedroom with lots of light and a view of the park. She'd furnished it herself. Filled it with books and plants, and her grandmother's rocking chair. Every piece had meaning. Every choice was hers alone. No one told her what colors to use or how to arrange the furniture. It was hers in a way nothing had ever been before. It was the first place that had ever really felt like home. A place where she was safe, where she was valued, where she could be completely, authentically herself without fear of judgment or cruelty. Yeah, let's go home. They walked back inside, hand in hand. Emma was no longer the broken woman who'd walked out of that courthouse a year ago. She was Emma, Ashford, philanthropist, advocate, survivor, woman. In love. She was just getting started. The man who'd once called her useless had lost everything trying to destroy her. The woman he'd underestimated had become unstoppable. That was justice. That was power. That was the truest revenge of all, living well, living fully, living free, living with purpose.